The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Bothell, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32073. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the front bumper. On the face of the bumper, you'll find an air horn on the driver's side. Located on the passenger and driver's side, you'll find a mechanical siren and PA speaker. Just inside of that location, you'll find two closed tow hooks. Moving to the side of your front bumper, you'll find an emergency light. Moving up onto the top of the bumper, directly in the center, you'll find a tubbed storage location for hose. And on the passenger side, you'll find a swiveled 2.5-inch discharge. Moving to the side of the apparatus, you'll find a turn or marker light. And then just inside of that, on the face of the front, you'll find your headlights, which house a low and high beam. The low beam is on the outside and the high beam is on the inside. Up from that, you'll find emergency warning lights and also a turn indicator. And just up from that, you'll find two grab handles on the passenger and driver's side. Up from that, on the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers. Up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And on the roof, you'll find your emergency light bar. With inside the emergency light bar, you'll find your opticom. Let's move to the passenger side of the vehicle. Under the passenger front door, you'll find the drain for your 2.5-inch front bumper. You'll also find at points of entry grab handles, keyed entry handles, a side-facing emergency light. Moving up to the top, you'll find a side-facing floodlight. Toward the rear of the apparatus on the cab, you'll find a water tank indicator. And on the sides, you'll find your mirrors, flat on the top portion, convexed on the lower portion. Here are some close-ups of those things that we just talked about. Let's go ahead and move to the driver's side of the vehicle. On the driver's side, you'll find the location for your shore power inlet. This is an auto eject plug. Down at the lower section of the cab, we'll have some drains that we'll talk about in a few minutes for your pump. Moving up into the window area when plugged into shore power, this will be the status of your shore power. This is your shoreline inlet. It is a 20 amp plug and there is a green indicator that lights when plugged in. Also, your auto charging status center will illuminate. As we move down, you'll find a compartment just to the rear of the rear doors. Underneath that compartment, you'll find your foam pump discharge drain and also your foam pump intake drain. Let's go ahead and start with the pump panel and the modules within this area. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner. This is a warning sticker regarding entanglement hazard. To the left of this location is where your crosslays are. This is your pump intake. In between the pump intake and pump discharge is where you'll find your vacuum and pressure test ports. To the right, you'll find your pump discharge. When your pump is properly engaged, you'll find this green indicator illuminating, which indicates your pump is engaged. Let's move down to the next section below this area. First, starting with your Husky foam system. This is the control module for your foam system. Just up from that, you will find an audible speaker, and to the right, you'll find in red your foam level indicator. Moving to the right, you'll find your pump boss. This is your pressure throttle governor module. And moving to the right, you'll find in the blue section
your water level. As we move into the gray area, you'll find a set of switches. First, starting with your panel lights, in red an air horn, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, officer side scene, and a spare. To the right, you'll find your engine cooler and recirculating line. These are twist, not pull. We'll move down and to the left to the next section. First, in yellow, this is going to be your driver's side crosslay, water and foam capable. This is the discharge valve. As we move to the right, you'll find the officer side crosslay, water and foam capable. And then as we move up to the right, you're going to find your deck gun control. Moving down, you'll find your front bumper discharge. This is the 2.5-inch front bumper, and it is foam and water capable. As we move to the right, you'll find the number 1 driver's side discharge. That's a 2.5-inch. You'll find an electronic valve for the number 7 officer side. This is your large diameter discharge on the passenger side. Moving down, you'll find the number 2 driver's side. And as we move to the right, you'll find this placard for your maintenance schedule, which we'll talk about in a few moments. Down in the lower left, you'll find your intake relief valve. This is the ability to adjust that intake relief. This is the discharge port for the number 1 driver's side. And then this is the number 2 driver's side. As we move to the right side, you'll find your officer side intake. This is an electronic valve. Down lower than that, you'll find the driver's side intake. You'll also find your tank fill and tank to pump. Moving down further, you'll find in green the number 3 driver's rear discharge, water and foam capable. As we move across, you'll find the fire pump primer. There is also priming instructions just below. Because you have an electronic valve, this is the driver's side main inlet override, and this is the intake for the driver's side electronic valve. Here's some close-ups of your Husky foam system. Moving to the right, you'll find your pump boss, pressure throttle governor. And then moving further to the right, you'll find once again those panel rocker switches. This is your intake relief valve. You have the ability to increase or decrease that relief valve. Down lower, you'll find a warning label regarding foam failure hazard and not to mix brands and types or concentrates. And just to the left, you'll find your draft foam tank lever. To the right, you'll find all of your discharge drains in addition with bleeders. You'll also find this warning label regarding only trained personnel should operate this equipment, and you should use your operations manual. Down lower than that, you'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. And then further to the right, you'll find a placard regarding your Watrous type pump. Your pump is a CSU model, and it is a 2.46 ratio. In the compartment that is down in the lower right, you'll find your foam fill operations. This is the yellow handle, and then just up from that, you'll find the foam drain. There are instructions on the panel door. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the compartments on the driver's side. Your compartments are LED lit with inside, have roll-up doors, and also have air ventilation. In this compartment down at the lower right-hand corner, you'll find the release mechanism for the lower tray. As we look to the upper left-hand corner, you'll find the compartment ventilation timer. This is a timer which can be set to allow ventilation to turn on and off with inside the compartments when plugged into shore power. You'll also find a shoreline outlet. This is a 20 amp outlet. It supplies power to your auto charger. Just above that, you'll find a 12 volt DC block with fuses. As we move through in front of the rear tire, you'll find SCBA bottle storage locations and oxygen storage. To the right, you're going to find bottle storage once again, and also your diesel fill location for your ultra low sulfur diesel, and also your DEF, which is a 4.5 US gallon tank. The blue cap is your DEF. Over the rear tire, you'll find a tool board, And on the side of your apparatus, underneath the rear compartment, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. You'll also find in this compartment a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is on the right. Up in the very top corner is where you'll find a DC 12-volt outlet. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the apparatus for the location of your wheel chocks. You can see in front and to the rear of the axle. As we move to the rear of the axle, let's start here with your brake indicator. This is your brake, turn, reverse, and an emergency light cluster. Moving up from that location is a cupped light switch. This will turn on the rear scene lights. Moving up from that location, there are two emergency lights on the passenger and driver side rear. And as we move all the way to the top, you'll find your scene lights. You have two 2.5-inch discharges located in the rear of your apparatus, a backup camera located in the center. The compartment down in the lower right corner of this image is the location for your powered equipment rack. Let's move up to the very top of the hose bed. You'll find speed loads located here. Moving also up to the very top of the hose bed cover, you'll find locations for storage for longboards. There are also some warning labels here regarding not to ride on the back of the apparatus and fall hazard. We're now looking into the rear compartment roll-up door. You'll find this tray will pull out from the mechanism on the right-hand side, which is the release. Here's the close-up of your camera and also your 2.5-inch discharges. These are your rear speed loads. As we look at the top of the hosebed cover, you'll find the location for your board storage. You'll also find your rear scene lights cupped switch. In that small compartment, you'll find your powered equipment rack and also your driver's side hosebed cover and officer side hosebed cover switches. Looking at the top in the area where the hosebed is and also in the dunnage area, you'll find these yellow diamonds reflective for firefighter safety. You'll also find located in the center your deluge, a work light, and your foam pump. As we move to the side of the apparatus, this is the passenger side. You'll find an emergency warning light and also a side-facing floodlight. In the very rear compartment passenger side, you'll find two adjustable shelves and also the lower shelf with a pull-out tray. Before the rear tires, you'll find 3 bottle storage locations with straps, and then just in front of the rear tires, you'll find 3 bottle storage locations with straps. Once again, your transverse compartment is LED lit, adjustable shelving, and also a ventilation system. I would like to point out this warning label regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust and be cautious as to where you park your vehicle. Starting in the upper left, you'll find a pan door, which we'll talk about in just a moment. You do have 3 discharges on this side. Moving down, you'll find your large diameter intake. Moving to the right, you'll find your large diameter discharge. Further to the right, you'll find the module that controls your cab lift. And then beneath that, across the bottom, you'll find all of your associated discharge drains. In addition, with a 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, which is a female inlet. Underneath that pan door, you will find your officer side scene light switch. And as we look to that pan door itself, you'll find inside your equipment rack hydraulic reservoir. Down on the right-hand side, we're going to find your large diameter pump intake, and then to the right, your large diameter discharge. This is your cab lift with instructions for raise and lower. There's also some caution and danger labels. Down on the far right-hand side, you'll find your officer side auxiliary 2.5-inch female inlet. And underneath, you'll find all your associated drains, color-coded and also labeled. We're now to the cab area where you'll find this smaller compartment. As we move inside the apparatus, we're in the rear section on the passenger side. You'll find 2 compartments on the right and left. They have access doors, adjustable shelves, and LED lighting. You'll also find in between those two an access panel location for your daily checks for your engine oil and transmission. Underneath the rear seat riser, you will find access from three sides, the front and also the two side or ends for storage. Looking to the rear section, you'll find two forward-facing SCBA style seats, two SCBA holders in each corner of the apparatus, in between the two rear seats, you'll find a 12-volt access point USB. Overhead, you'll find your David Clark headset system, push on and off white and red lights. We'll go ahead and scroll through some of the cab images here of some of those compartments forward facing, and then the ones also just above this location, the ones that are attached to the roof line. Let's go ahead and start now in the passenger side front seat. First, we'll start with, at all points of entry, there are warning labels attached to the door. In addition, this vehicle has 2 foot pedals down at the lower section. We'll talk about what those are for. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, airbag, and this is the instructions regarding not blocking this area. This is the location of your supplemental restraint system, the airbag. And as we move to the inside, difficult to see on the hinge side of this is your windshield wiper fill location. You have your air horn and mechanical siren foot pedals located at the floor level. As we move up, you'll find a parking brake on the hinged side of the front A-pillar. Moving just inside onto the dash area, you'll find your push-to-talk for your radio and also a USB 12-volt access point. Moving overhead of the passenger area, let's focus in on the very center. This is going to be your Pierce seatbelt information. If it's lit and someone is in the seat, they'll be red, indicating that they're in the seat without a belt. If they are green, they're indicating that they are in the seat and the belt has been applied. Moving just to the right of this location, we're going to find your Panasonic Weatherband Sirius XM radio, and we'll also find your siren control and PA speakers and microphone. To the left, you'll find, once again, point of entry. We're in the driver's area, warning labels, also additional warning labels regarding the use of seat belts. Let's focus down in the lower section here about the right ankle area. You'll find this manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing. This is your job number, date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight ratings. It houses your VIN number, and it also has your information on tire inflation. There is also components for your fluids and also fluid types. As we move down in the step well, you'll find your air inlet. As we move up from this location, we'll identify some of the components within this area. First, let's start at the floorboard area with your foot pedals, your air horn, and also mechanical siren. As we move up to the left side of the column, you'll find your battery switch, which is silver, tech module, engine, transmission, and ABS diagnostic port. Switches are your ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostic, and regen inhibit, and then also a display port. Up from that location, you'll find your cab floor lights, AM/FM radio, and also a load manager. Moving to the right-hand side of the steering column, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions from road to pump and also from pump to road. On the left-hand side, you'll find your pump engaged and OK to pump. You must have both green lit indicators prior to exiting the cab for pump operations. To the right, you'll also find your main mirror and your convex mirror controls. As we move to the left-hand side of the column, you'll find your start and ignition switch on the left. In this small set of switches, you'll find an EM, which stands for Emergency Master, headlights on and off, and also your panel rocker switch for dim and brighten. You'll find your transmission oil, DEF, and water on the left-hand side, your tachometer and speedometer directly in the center. your volts, fuel, front and rear air on the right side, and then above and below, diagnostic information as necessary. Located directly in front of the operator, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information here that's available. To the right, you'll find your windshield wiper control, push for fluid. As we move down to the bottom, you'll find your engine brake on and off, engine brake setting for low, medium, and high, your front wheel lock, and also your mirror heat. Moving over to the right from this location, you'll find your climate control and a couple of caution warning labels. Your system parking brake, pull to apply, push to release. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with a digital readout. Let's go ahead and move overhead of the operator. First, we'll talk about that placard on the left. This is just a general view, but the placard on the left starts with your height 10 feet 11 inches, your length 31 feet 1 inch, your gross vehicle weight rating at 46,500 pounds. If you make any changes to your vehicle, please update this placard. Let's move to the right of this location where we'll find a set of switches. This is overhead of the operator. First, with your emergency master on the left, momentary opticom, electronic siren, air horn, tire chains, and your differential lock. To the right of this set of switches, you'll find an additional set of switches. These house your front scene, driver's side scene, officer's side scene, and your deck lights. There is a future switch location if necessary. This is just an image of the general view of the roof line of the apparatus from the driver's perspective. As we look to the rear, you'll find your two forward-facing SCBA seats, and then off to the side, additional SCBA locations. Congratulations on your new apparatus. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or have further questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.